Introverts are often seen as the guy who silently fixes computers in the back room, the person who sits in the corner at a lively party, or just in general, the person who doesn't really seem to stand out. But I can assure you these stereotypes do not exactly illustrate who exactly introverts are. As an introvert myself, who has friends and family members who are introverts, I've seen firsthand the power in not saying much. Introverts may not be apt to thrive in certain situations, and they may not always be the most vocal about their opinions and how they're feeling. But from what I've seen, they tend to work very hard, and they tend to lead through actions rather than words. So the purpose of this speech is not to explain if introverts can be good leaders, because they can. But rather, my point in doing this speech is to explain how and why introverts are good leaders. So to establish this, I will be talking about how they add a different dynamic to a team that extroverts might not always be the best at adding. While extroverts tend to jump right into action, introvert is the more grounded one who carefully plans out what needs to happen. As Roy Saunderson puts it, leaders who are introverts will formulate their thoughts first in their own mind before voicing them. Introverts are also more willing to ask questions if they don't necessarily get a concept, even though extroverts, they do talk more, but the introverts will understand the concept better because they're willing to ask questions if they have a question. And we all know how annoying it could be if someone asks too many questions, so they only ask a certain amount of questions to basically get the concept of a project or something. As a swim coach, working with individuals who try to understand my directions and have the internal motivation to carry out those directions as best as they can, those are typically the swimmers who grow up to be fantastic swimmers. The dynamic that introverts bring can be explored further through some of their general traits. The traits introverts bring are vital for a team, and it can also be vital for leadership. Being able to produce quality work by oneself is very crucial for a leader. Leading by example without having to be led is perhaps the most important aspect of being a leader. As Dodge puts it, in general, introverts are comfortable working alone, which is a good way to avoid interruption and get work done. Being comfortable working alone doesn't mean being antisocial or avoiding face-to-face communication at all costs, but it's an effective way to communicate on your own schedule. For introverts, public speaking is not something that comes quite as natural, and it's because of preparation that they do in advance, such as the speech, is that makes them thrive in those situations just as much as an extrovert can. And being willing to prepare is key to success in any field. Though having an outgoing nature may help in certain situations, extroverts do not necessarily become greater leaders just because they're extrovertic, because extroverts and introverts can both be good leaders. It just depends on their motivation and who they are. A common misconception of introverts is that they belong in areas behind the scenes, such as the guy doing the curtains in a theater play, or the person crunching the numbers for a very famous actor or someone. But I don't think this is necessarily the case in every situation. Different leaders have different types of styles of leading. And no one way of leadership is key to success. As Bannon puts it from Forbes, if a leadership team combines introverted and extroverted personalities, it'll have the perfect balance of thinkers and talkers. Another common argument is that extroverts are more willing to speak up and take action rather than introverts. Though extroverts speak more, this doesn't mean that they're more prone to those leadership positions. According to C-Suite Network, according to research, about 70% of CEOs describe themselves as introverts. Actions certainly speak louder than words, and carefully articulating a point of view through actions is better than simply useless words. So, in summary, introverts are unique in a leadership and group setting. Introverts typically have character traits that are hugely beneficial in leadership. And an extrovert or an introvert can be a good leader. It just depends on the person and who they are. Who knows? The guy in the back of the party might be one of the best leaders the world has ever seen, and we may not know. Thank you for listening.